Traffic on Jarvis Street is clearing up after Binghamton Mayor Jared Cram announced this morning that work to improve the bridge is finally done. A portion of Jarvis Street was closed to traffic after the city of Binghamton released a report last year documenting the poor conditions of several of its railroad bridges. The Jarvis Street and Glenwood Avenue bridges were rated in the report as severe and were rehabilitated in a project by Norfolk Southern. The construction of the Jarvis Street Bridge finished months ahead of schedule, and Mayor Cram spoke about how having Jarvis Street open can help the community.
This is a critical connection between the First Ward and the West Side. So having Jarvis Street reopen ahead of schedule would be great for drivers, would be great for the businesses in this community. And it's not often that construction projects get finished months ahead of schedule. This is one of the ones, and we certainly want to highlight that and the good work by the construction crews to get this done.
In addition to the bridges on Jarvis Street and Glenwood Avenue, the plan includes the replacement of the Front Street Railroad Bridge later this year and improvements to the bridges on Murray Street and Water Street.